Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon for when you're joining me. Thank you very much for your time. And today's chapter is chapter 51. I'm going to dive straight in. The title page of the Tanya tells us the entire work is based upon the verse in Deuteronomy 30:14. For the thing, meaning the Torah, is very near to you, in your mouth, and in your heart, that you may do it. The concluding verse that you may do it implies that the ultimate purpose of the entire Torah is the fulfillment of the mitzvah in practice. The first explanation of these words and the Yanuka mentioned earlier in chapter 35, where the Yanuka was quoted as saying that the light of the Shekhinah, which dwells upon a Jew, needs oil. Shekhinah meaning divine presence, meaning good deeds. So the dwelling of the divine presence upon the Jew needs good deeds in order for it to manifest. Now, what connection do good deeds have with oil, which usually refers to chokhmah, meaning wisdom? The Alter will not explain that Shekhinah's dwelling upon something that means revelation of that aspect of God's presence in the Shekhinah. Although God exists everywhere, his existence is concealed. When Shekhinah dwells upon something, this denotes a revelation of godliness. However, the key to understanding the subject is found in the text. And from my flesh I see God. The Alter Rebbe understands his word literally from what we see within ourselves, in our own soul and body. We can visualize the power of the spiritual level in the divine emanation and the world in general. This takes place in all organs simultaneously, for as the Rebbe explains, this diffusion of the soul refers to the life force from which the organs derive their vitality, in which respect all organs are equal. This one aspect of the soul's emanation from the brain to the organs, and in Hasidic terminology, can be termed light, a relation which is equal throughout. The second aspect of the emanation that the organs derive from the soul, which in the brain, is in the following. Remember here as a commentary which clarifies the subject. By way of introduction, the life force from the soul which animates the body comprises two aspects. One is its life-giving force, in that the whole body is alive and derives vitality from the soul. In this aspect, there is no difference between one organ and the next. The head, for example, is no more alive than the foot, just as the foot is no less alive than the head. The head body of all organs is equally alive throughout. The Hasidic terminology's aspect of life-giving force is called light of the soul. For light shines equally upon everything around the light source, God is the quality of nature of the objects receiving the light. The aspect of the soul's life force is the specific functional power which each organ draws from the soul. This power is unique to each organ. The eye receives from the soul the power to see, the ear to hear, the mouth to speak, and the foot to walk. The manner in which the organ receives the life force and functional power can be explained in two ways. One is that the life force emanates from the soul and to the organ is utterly plain and uncompounded, possessing none of the diverse qualities and powers of the various organs. According to the explanation, the various functional powers of the organs would be differentiated with respect to the life force emanating from the soul. Only after that life force becomes enclosed within the organ. For example, only after the life force becomes enclosed within the eye would it become the power of sight. And only after it becomes enclosed within the ear, it would become the power of hearing. And an eyewitness explanation would be the water in a color glass. Although it remains colorless, yet since it is seen through the walls of a white or red vessel, for example, it seems white or red to the viewer. Likewise, each organ receives a plain, uncompounded life force from the soul, and it is the organ that gives the life force enclosed within it its specific functional ability. The eye enables life force to give it the power to see, and the ear enables it to give the power to hear. The second possible explanation that is accepted by the Tanya is that the soul, despite its pristine and compounded essence, includes in potential form all of the powers of various organs, and it is these faculties with which each individual organ receives. The eye receives from the life force of the soul the power to see. The ear receives from it the power to hear. These powers were originally included in potential within the soul, and each becomes revealed as the life force becomes enclosed within the respective organ. Thus, the power to see or hear does not originate only when the life force becomes enclosed within the eye or ear. It already exists in potentia with the comprehensive life force emanating from the soul, although it is not yet revealed. The Tanya proceeds to explain that this is the correct explanation. The commentary of the Rebbe explains why we must accept this second explanation. If we retain the various functional powers are not differentiated in potentia within a life force until it becomes enclosed within the organs like water or light, which does not itself possess a color, but acquires it when viewed through color gas, then the brain will be conscious of the same sensation from what is experienced in the eye as from what is experienced in the ear. These sensations have already left their respective organs. Thus, too, water removed from a white vessel is no different from water removed from a red vessel. Once removed from the vessel, it loses the vessel's color. Likewise, messages conveying sensations from the eye will be no different from those coming from the ear, since they have already left their respective organs. One might argue, according to the explanation which the Tanya does not accept, that when a particular organ calls into being a functional power in the life force drawn into it from the soul, this differentiation can be acquired in the life force, like an ingot of silver, which, once it has been molded into the shape of a vessel, remains in that shape later too. According to this argument, the difference affected by each organ is in the life force drawn into it from the soul remains also in the state transmitted from the organ back to the brain even after it leaves the organ. This will account for the different messages received by the brain for the varying sensations and occurrences experienced by the eye and ear, for example. If, however, we say that the soul, which is based in the brain, utterly transcends any kind of differentiation or even a differentiation potential in which the various powers of the organ are included within the soul, then the soul within the brain would not distinguish between the sensation of what happens in the eye and the sensation of what happens in the ear and the organ, because the soul itself is utterly plain and compounded. Even therefore, if the messages come from the various organs to the brain are indeed different from another, and that difference will not be different, distinguished by the soul in the brain, which utterly transcends all differences between the organic functions. We must therefore say that the difference exists between the various functional powers later revealed in the organs, even before the life was actually drawn from the soul to the organs. The Tanya will now explain at which level of the soul this differentiation takes place. Rather, 613 kinds of functional powers and vital forces are included within the soul, within its being and essence, to become actualized and to emerge from this concealment and inclusion within the soul's essence. Previously, whilst included within the soul's essence, there are only in potentia, and therefore hidden within the soul, not even as functional powers which are revealed as such, while still included within the soul. In other words, within the soul there is concealed a potential for 613 functional powers to become actualized and to emerge from concealment and to become revealed. In the realm of the spirit, separate and distinct entities are a result of their being on different spiritual grades and levels. Thus, a multitude of worlds implies a multitude of varying levels of spirituality. Here, the sheer numerousness of worlds and created beings each differs from each other in its spiritual gradation. Earlier on, when explaining his analogy, also pointed out that despite the vast differences that exist between one body organ and the other, the whole essence is equally found in them all. He now goes on to explain that in the analog of the Ein Sof as well, the Ein Sof is found in a manner equally within all worlds. In Kabbalistic literature, the flow and vitality of godliness is termed light rather than shefa, flux, as it is termed in Jewish speculative philosophy, hakiva. Light signifies revelation out of concealment. Previously, the light had been concealed within the luminary, the source of the light, and subsequently is drawn forth from this source, is revealed as light. Thus, in the case of revelation out of concealment, only a minute illumination of the source is drawn down into a revealed state. Not so with shefa, where it is the actual flux and stream of the source that flows down and is revealed. Hence the phrase Meshifas Mayim, a flow of water in Job 22:11. Self-same water that was previously in one place flows to another place. The above mentioned revelation out of concealment of light serves the purpose of the divine life force is God in many garments, so not to be revealed. This concealment involves not only a multitudinous profusion of garment, a quantitative manner of concealment, but a qualitative one as well. The vast difference between the insubstantial garments that conceal the vitality in the higher worlds and the much denser garments necessary to conceal the godly vitality to the degree that creation of the physical becomes possible. Creation ex nihilo must be constant. The fact that the world and the creatures were already once created during the 6 days of creation does not suffice. Rather, there must be a constant renewal of creation from its source. Thus, the godly light and vitality that is responsible for creation is constantly found in created beings, albeit in a concealed fashion. Thus, even the physical orb of Earth contains godly light and vitality. This results from light passing through the spirit of the various worlds, the spirit being the godliness of each world, as well as the numerous and powerfully dense garments that serve to conceal this vitality. The difference between the higher and lower worlds will be understood accordingly. The divine light and life force is revealed to a greater extent in the higher world than in the lower. And within this physical world, the light and life force is completely concealed. However, this is the case merely in relation to the illumination of godliness. With regard to the core and essence of the Ein Sof, there truly exists no difference between the higher and lower worlds. It is equally concealed from all and is equally found in them all. I hope this made sense. Something for me to try and understand a bit deeper, wrap my head around these new concepts. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave in the comments box below, and please feel free to subscribe. I wish you a really good day. All the best. Bye.